When we last visited TNA in 2006, Jeff Jarrett reclaimed the NWA World title under the screwiest of circumstances in what became known as the Orlando Screwjob. But the new face of TNA management has arrived and looks to balance the ledger when it comes to righting the wrongs perpetrated by Planet Jarrett. We'll see how that all unfolds with this week's review as I look at TNA Victory Road 2006 from July 16th at the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. The show drew about 900 fans to the Impact Zone once again. 25,000 pay-per-view buys is what this show earned. And of course, as always, Mike Tenay and Don West are on the call for this one. As we saw at Slammiversary, Jim Cornette, the outspoken wrestling manager, booker, and in the mid-2000s, a budding podcaster, was named the new face of TNA management. And it was a big deal for TNA, huge added boost of legitimacy. And from the beginning, Cornette is positioned staunchly anti-Jeff Jarrett. He makes this big overarching statement in his opening promo at Slammiversary, but it does seem very pointed at Jarrett, where he says, if you try and pull a power play on me, you will lose because I have the entirety of TNA backing me up. And this leads into a very memorable segment in TNA history. It's Jim Cornette's open public meeting with the entire roster. It's his first big address as, you know, the new face of TNA management. He's got all these sweeping declarations, and it really feels like a big moment of catharsis when Cornette comes in and just tries to right so many wrongs instantly. Like, Team Canada, you are now officially disbanded. Oh, what a big moment that is. Earl Hebner, for what you did at Slammiversary, you're fired. Like, oh man, instant ramifications. And then when it comes to, you know, the story with Jeff Jarrett and the World Championship, you know, Hebner clearly was doing some kind of bullshit to help Jeff Jarrett win the belt, but he can't really prove it. So, Jeff, you know, you were the one who hung the belt up at the King of the Mountain match, so begrudgingly, Cornette has no choice but to award the belt to Jeff Jarrett. Mr. If you pull a power play on me, you will lose. Gives the belt to Jeff Jarrett, but he is certain that Jarrett will not hold on to the belt for long because he has booked himself a Road to Victory matchup. The main event for this pay-per-view gives you this impression that, you know, shit, happy days are here now because we got somebody who's competent and who can stand up to Jeff Jarrett and all his bullshit and chicanery. And even though his hands are tied and, oh, he's got to give the belt back to Jarrett, like from the get-go, you know that he's going to be somebody who's fighting, you know, for the baby faces, for the people. It's like probably one of the biggest bursts of hope we've had in quite some time in TNA. The opening hype package focuses on the main event, how each of the four contenders have their own unique motives, and suddenly, oh, there's world champ Jeff Jarrett. Ah, did he eat the tape again? No, he's just trolling the TNA viewers with his own personalized message and his very, very bright sunglasses. He goes, hey, hey, ho, ho. He runs down all his potential opponents in tonight's main event, and he swears revenge on Sting. Hey, remember when I hit Hulk Hogan that one time? Hey, hey. We get to the opening match. First off, we got the Diamonds in the Rough, Elix Skipper and David Young, accompanied by Simon Diamond. Kind of weird to see him in a suit instead of a tracksuit for once. And then we see the franchise, Shane Douglas, make his triumphant return to TNA pay-per-view. There was a period of time earlier in the year where he was doing the backstage interviewing for TNA. Then he took a brief time off TV to attend rehab for substance abuse issues. But he is back here, and interviewer no more. Now he is the coach and the trainer for the Naturals, the former tag team champions. They've hit a slump the last several months. Shane Douglas comes back and he sees something in them and he wants to mold them into little mini franchises. So you see him take Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas, no relation to Shane by the way, through this brutal boot camp scenario where he's training them to be at their absolute best, and he's kind of broken them down and he's rebuilding them, and he believes that they are ready. So Shane's on the microphone. First thing he says is, have you heard the one about ECW? Stop me if you heard it. They lost a franchise and gained a Dick Flair. What are you talking about, dude? Let the shit go. And he says before God and Chris Candido and his father that this team has grown and they are ready. He says their destination starts to come true tonight. And he said he would take them back to their nirvana known as the TNA Tag Team Championships of this world. So give it up for the naturalized Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas. They have new trunks, new haircuts. Douglas kind of looks like a young Anthony Kiedis for some reason here. So Shane not playing the role of like manager. He's not at ringside like Simon Diamond or Scott D'Amore. He leaves. He goes up the ramp while the Naturals are wrestling. Starts out pretty good for the Naturals. Gets some quick tags. David Young hits a big Asai moonsault on the outside. Asai means David. Chase takes all kinds of heat until he tags in Douglas. Skipper cuts off Chase and keeps wrestling him even though he's not legal, but he sets up a nice double team move where Douglas dives off the top and flattens Skipper for the victory. High fives all around. Good job, good game, but then out returns the franchise, who doesn't look very happy about the victory. It seems like winning the match alone wasn't enough for Shane. I'm going to give this 1.5 stars out of 5. It's a fairly unmemorable match. It simply exists to get, the Naturals over with this new coat of paint, Shane Douglas's new direction. I like that he wasn't there for the match itself, he went up and left and came back, because there are already plenty of managers in TNA right now, and there can be such a thing as too many managers on a wrestling show. So I think for Shane to differentiate himself and to be that kind of coach character, but not always be present at ringside, is pretty neat. We get Mike Tenay and Don West breaking down the card. Then we go back to the promo zone. Jeremy Borash with Christian Cage, and they're talking about the main event for tonight. And the former champ says people are wondering what happened to the old Christian Cage. Well, he took a bit of a sabbatical, and now he's going to get back to work. And boy, they could not be less subtle about Christian Cage's impending heel turn, not just in this show, which it's all over, but from end of Slammiversary on. It's very obvious it's going to be happening. It's not a matter of if, but when. People have kind of resigned themselves to it at this point. He runs down his opponent, says Steiner is huge and intimidating, but the tattoo on your chest gives away something you're seriously lacking, and that's heart. And Samoa Joe says he is TNA. He says he is wrestling. He says, hey, you gonna finish those fries? And he said that literally as I was eating fries with my lunch. And I was like, shit, he can see me. He compares Sting to an expired carton of milk, and he says he is confident he's winning the match tonight and taking his title back. Wow, how exactly was it meant to be a surprise that this man was gonna go bad? I'm sorry. It's Gore versus Pounce as Rhino takes on the alpha male Monty Brown. Well, a couple of weeks ago on Impact, Rhino caused quite the stir, because remember, around this time, the WWE ECW revival was happening. One Night Stand had just taken place. The show on Sci-Fi was just about to get underway, if it had not already aired. So around this time, Rhino comes out and does a whole segment where he takes what is purported to be the original ECW championship belt and he throws it into this flaming barrel, and he mentions, they offered me a deal, but I turned it down because it's not the real ECW. It was a whole thing. I talked about it in more detail in a countdown I did a while back of all the times TNA took a shot at WWE. So you can check that out right here if you want more information on that. But after he burns the belt, he puts out an open challenge to anyone from any company to come out and fight him at the next pay-per-view. Well, shit, that sounds like something interesting, don't you think? Could be from anybody, anywhere. Oh gosh, all the different partnerships they have with different companies, and you never know with professional wrestling, right? Well, it's actually a bit less of a surprise. It's Monty Brown. Let's see if they do anything with him this time. These guys are throwing bombs right out the gate. The fans are really jazzed for this one. Early on, Monty goes for the pounce, but he lays out the referee, period. And then Monty props him up in the corner, and as he's doing that, I go, oh, sure feels like he's getting set up for a Gorner. Sure enough, it's a Gorner by Rhino. Oh man, I guess he's dead now. The fight goes to the outside, into the crowd, extra security is getting involved. It looks like one or both of them is about to headbutt the corner of the stage for a moment there, and the match eventually gets thrown out. I'm gonna give it 1 star out of 5 simply because, hey, you know what? Credit to the referee, taking the pounce and the corner within like 30 seconds of each other. Props to you, man. But boy, it's disappointing that, we're not going to get a proper resolution to this like one-on-one affair, because next month they're just going to throw Abyss into it. JB in the promo zone with LAX. That's Konnan, Homicide, and Hernandez. He says Cornette's response to the work stoppage played right into their hands because, hey, now they're on pay-per-view. And just like the 11 million illegal immigrants who cross the border, they're not asking for permission, they're taking what's theirs. And then Konnan wraps the promo up with some Spanish. Up next, LAX take on Sonjay, Dutt, and Ron the Truth Killings. Well, LAX, like I mentioned, they had been on a bit of a work stoppage, kind of camping out in their base on the Impact Zone. But then during Cornette's big company-wide meeting, he threatened LAX and saying, hey, if you're going to continue the work stoppage, there's going to be a check stoppage. So that prompts them to get back to work, so to speak. Ron Killings, of course, has passed with Konnan as part of the 3 Live crew, so he is standing up to fight against what LAX is doing. And Sonjay Dutt is just kind of there. I love when Moody Jack does the ring intros in Spanish for LAX. The match begins, LAX start out hot, but the faces fight back. We get a dive by Sonjay, then Homicide, then by R-Truth, who damn near kills himself while doing it. Thank God for Hernandez catching him. Sonjay gets dropped over the top rope. That allows LAX to take over. You love to see the strength on display by Hernandez here. Dutt showing a lot of heart in these hope spots. He's a great come-from-behind babyface. His fire is great, but boy, he also bumps well. Hell of a high and tight suplex by Homicide. Hot tag to Truth. He's all over the place. He even busts out a rolling clothesline, taking a shot at K-Dog there. Homicide with a hell of an ace crusher. Sonjay's going nuts in his hot tag. He goes to the top rope, but Konnan slapjacks him. Hernandez hucking his opponent with the border toss for the win. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. Despite the match, being a foregone conclusion from the get-go, they kept things really exciting. Very fun match. I think Homicide and Hernandez are just such a perfect duo. They complement each other so well in terms of, size and skill and speed. Like, they just gel perfectly well. And, again, Sonjay and Killings, they're just kind of the sacrificial lambs, but I think they worked really well with them. Borash in the promo zone with Scott Steiner in regards to the main event matchup, but Steiner says, you call it a 4-way, but everyone knows it's going to come down between me and Sting. And that Samoa Joe and Christian Cage, they're just going to be casualties of war. And in regards to Samoa Joe, he says, every time Samoa Joe's got in the ring with me, he's half the man that I am. But he starts hating on me because I call him a fat bastard. Well, don't hate on me, Samoa Joe. Hate your parents because they gave it extra fat cell in your X and Y chromosome. What? I think I know what he was going for there, but he got a little deviated. And then he talks about all he has to do to keep Samoa Joe out of the equation. He says, the ring's going to be that way, and I'm going to have a line of donuts going that way. Everybody knows that fat son of a bitch can't deny himself a creamy crust donut. As far as Christian Cage, he says it's his time, his area. Maybe it's time to hit the gym, eat a steak stick, man. Time to go back to Canada, or as we call it, Mexico North. And then JB brings up, hey, what happens if you win? You'll be facing Jeff Jarrett next month, and he's your boy. And Steiner basically loudly proclaims he doesn't care. Another great entry in the promo list by Steiner. On we go now to Team Canada's official farewell address. Like I mentioned in that big company meeting, Cornette just, the snap of his fingers, disbanded Team Canada, making a lot of people happy in the process. Of course, Team Canada protested. They had a do-or-die 8-man tag match the following week where if they got to win, they could stay together. They lost, so now you got the whole crew out here, in the ring looking really sad. And of course, Coach D'Amore is upset these fans are cheering for their demise, and he's blaming that Kentucky Fried idiot Jim Cornette and his ignorance for this. And the whole crux of the segment is D'Amore's putting over the Team Canada members one at a time. He goes to Bobby Roode, Petey Williams, A1. He goes, oh, you did great. You're so good. I can't wait for what the future holds for you. Good luck out there. And so then, they go down the line, they give each other handshakes and hugs and everything, and they all fabe Eric Young. They all just ignore him and give him dirty looks. I did like when he's talking to A1 and there's a big "you can't wrestle" chant, and D'Amore goes, he sure as hell could kick all your asses. That's not a denial. So finally it's down to D'Amore and Eric Young. And Scott goes, well, hey man, you got to feel pretty good about this, right? You got to feel pretty happy about this outcome. And Eric goes, no, what are you talking about? And D'Amore just then turns on him and goes, well, everything that's happened here, everything that's happened to Team Canada is because of your paranoia and your ignorance and your self-righteousness and your arrogance. And so he's just raining these insults down on Eric as growing Eric chants, from the crowds surround them. He goes, I brought you in here and I turned you into Showtime Eric Young, and you made me look like an idiot. You're the reason that Team Canada's split up. It's your fault, you're this, you're that. Makes him give up his Team Canada jacket, even the Team Canada pants. Oh, the humiliation continues. And then Eric wants some help, but Scott tells him nobody can save him. These fans can't even save you, as the fans are chanting, we will save you. I love the Impact Zone here, man. Like, sometimes they can just really get on it. And he says, get ready, your deepest, darkest fears will be realized. Your ass will be fired. And D'Amore storms off. Eric slowly picks up the microphone and asks, do you think I'll be fired? And the fans go, no! And he goes, should I be fired? No! And he goes, will you all help me? Yes! Will you be my friends? Yes! And so this is all very cheesy. It's very goofy, but I love this. He's like, all right, gang, this is going to be our secret little wink nudge. You got to let everyone know, don't fire Eric. That'll be our secret thing if you lead a don't fire Eric chant. So now Eric Young, suddenly imbued with positivity. I typically hate in-ring talking segments like this, like on pay-per-view, because I think that this is for the action, and you can save the talking segments for TV or whatnot, but this is really well done. I can't really hate on this because it sets up a lot of, kind of intrigue. Where are all these Team Canada members going to go? It puts all this sympathy on this lovable loser in Eric Young and sets him off on an interesting path. The ending of this was really funny, and okay, now I finally understand the origins of the Don't Fire Eric thing that I kind of jumped into partway through last year. JB is in the promo zone with Senshi, the new X Division champion. By the way, I did mention I normally hate, in-ring talking segments, and this actually is kind of a reason why. It's because now you've had 3 promos in a row. So anyway, Senshi did become the new X Division champion on TV a couple weeks ago. Samoa Joe defended against him and Sonjay Dutt as a result of the rankings match. Why it became a triple threat and not just a one-on-one, from a kayfabe perspective, I don't understand, but you understand why it was a triple threat. It was to take the belt off of Samoa Joe without anyone actually beating him, because on that Impact, Scott Steiner interferes, he brings Joe out of the ring. That allows Senshi to beat Dutt to become the new X Division champion. So we're on a bold new mission with him. So JB goes, what an unbelievable couple of months, huh? And Senshi goes, what's so unbelievable about it? I came here to win, and I did. I'm the champion now. And so he's going against a mystery opponent tonight, a former X Division champion at that, which he calls, it's a representative of the past. Well, it's a new era in the X Division now in TNA, and if you want to try and take this belt from me, just go ahead. And we go to that match now. Senshi is set to defend the X Division title against his opponent, Kazarian, the former 2-time X Division champion, back for the first time in TNA since 2005. He was in WWE for 6 months, maybe, before he asked for his release, and then he spent some time in PWG, in Japan, and Australia, and now he is back here as the surprise opponent, with one of the many different hairstyles he has rocked in the course of his career. It starts off a little low and slow, then they work their way up and get to the strikes. So how excited are these fans, for this X Division action? A few minutes into the match, we get a "this is boring" chant breaking out in this one, but to the credit of the rest of the Impact Zone, a lot of them are chanting, shut the fuck up, back at them. Don West says he feels like he's seeing a Bruce Lee or a Quentin Tarantino movie. Kaz takes a lot of punishment, but he hits a big sling blade to give himself an opening, and then Senshi just kicks the daylights out of Kaz, drop kick into the corner, the Warriors Way double stomp. Senshi wins and retains. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. The match was okay. I thought the surprise of Kazarian was pretty neat. It is always a thrill, a little bit, to watch a Senshi match because you never really know just how much real-life peril the opponents are in. But I do think that Senshi is really playing from behind as the X Division champion because he never beat Samoa Joe to become the champ, so it's like they're trying to put him over without having really put him over in that sense. So we're going to have to see how the rest of his reign plays out here and how the fans respond to it. JB is backstage with Larry Zbyszko rocking the Ribera jacket in preparation for his hair match against Raven. Larry is so good in this little promo he has here. He's hopping around. He says, after 33 glorious years, I'm in the best condition of my life. And he says he's forgotten more about wrestling than Raven ever dreamed about learning. And he's doing his training and he's warming up. Slick Johnson just comes running in place next to him, and then Zbyszko just goes, what do you want, you stooge? As they're doing it together, which was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. That just got a huge pop out of me. So Slick's got good news and gooder news. The good news is you don't have to take this match tonight, but if you skip it, you'll be fired. But the real good news, he's the referee for this match. And Slick's basically making it out like, oh, you know, I'm angling for that senior referee position, which you never gave me, so toodles, Larry. And so then Larry's like, well, after I get done with Raven, you and I are going to have a real man-to-man talk. You know, like, Larry Zbyszko in this role has been so funny for me to watch in 2006. His stuff's been great. So it is the payoff to a year-long feud as Raven takes on old Lair Bear, Larry Zbyszko. Yes, two guys who are both way past their prime in declining shape. This is the new face of professional wrestling. So Larry charges at Raven. Slick Johnson just trips him up. He immediately tries to screw Larry over here. They lock up. They go all the way around the ring. Zbyszko with that martial arts kick, sending Raven to the mat. Zbyszko still got it. He's surprisingly still pretty fluid. He does the spinning toe hold, but Raven fights out. Larry gently falls into Slick Johnson, whose body just collapses. We get the DDT, but Slick is still down. Larry recovers, hits a low blow. Then we get a series of falsies of all fucking things in this matchup. We get another DDT, the cover, and the win for Raven. So it's time to shear old Lair Bear. He gets up, but he walks away. He walks past the barber's chair and just pieces out to the back. But then after a couple of beats, he's being carried out back into the ringside by security, and him is going, no, no. It's so great. Raven duct tapes Larry to the barber's chair. Raven gets to shearing, and in the grand tradition of hair matches in wrestling, they seem to get jammed up and they hardly sound like they're working. God, this thing goes on forever. Let's give DW a try with the shears. Let's give Slick Johnson a moment as well. Man, this could have gone to break a lot sooner. I give it a half star, you know? They had maybe 2 minutes to work here and they gave it their all. They did some wrestling moves. What more do you want? JB is in the locker room with Kevin Nash, Alex Shelley, and Johnny Devine, and Kevin Nash goes right into a Hogan thing. Well, let me tell you something, brother. Victories are important in pro wrestling, but the X Division? More important. And then like Alex Shelley is going on like, I haven't seen you this motivated since you beat Bob Backlund for the title. 8 seconds. I haven't seen you this motivated since Hulk Hogan came and joined the NWO to carry your bags. He was the caboose. Then Nash goes, Lethal and Sabin, we're going to bond as a team. We're going to show you why we're the best. And then like at the end, he just like pushes his titties up to Jeremy Borash and says, they're real and they're fantastic. God, what an incredible promo by Nash here. I feel the quality of Kevin Nash's promos is always inversely proportional to how much of a fuck he gives any given moment. So we go now to Kevin Nash and Alex Shelley taking on Chris Sabin and Jay Lethal. The reign of terror of Kevin Nash over the X Division continues, but it's not just him. He has now recruited some of his own acolytes within the X Division, Paparazzi Productions. You got Alex Shelley teaming up now with Johnny Devine, who actually got out of Team Canada before the official breakup, so good timing on him. Someone asked him for some stock tips maybe. But now these two are working with Kevin Nash, and Kevin's teaching them the tricks of the trade. You know, this whole thing about humiliation is a classic tactic to control your opponent. The old body bag. Like, why do we have so many different like coaches in TNA right now? We have Coach Scott D'Amore, we have Shane Douglas coaching the Naturals, and now we've got Kevin Nash coaching the X Division guys in Paparazzi Productions. We have way too many of those roles, but at least they're all being done very differently. And Kevin Nash, again, playing like the veteran, the former big shot, who really like is perceived as having disdain for the little guys in wrestling, not really giving that much of a fuck, having fun. Like this is, and like getting to work and put over, by doing this, he's putting over all these smaller guys. And I think that's what's really brilliant about this from the early going. And so, yeah, fully invested in this. Good stuff between Shelley and Sabin to start things off. Nash gets tagged in. First thing he does is a big ol' arm drag, which gets a huge pop. It gets a "that was awesome" chant. The standards for Nash are pretty low. But to be fair, that was well outside of his like 6 or 7 famous moves. Little crossbody botch, get it again. Camera missing, Johnny Devine interfering. The heels take over after Alex's testicular claw. Now we get the familiar Kevin Nash maneuvers. Sabin gets the hot tag. He goes right after Nash's knee. He does the delayed drop kick, jumping off his back. They just unload offense on the big man. I love this. Devine gets involved again and it backfires. Lethal dives after him, down to Sabin and Shelley. A beautiful cover and a nice lean in to get the pin. Nash looks a little confused about what went on. He starts getting double teamed by the good guys until Shelley and Devine run in. We get a beaten, and then backstage producer Jerry Lynn runs in with a chair. He tears off his agent badge. He wants some of this. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. The match itself, not terrific, but again, I'm really liking the stories they're telling here. Like with Kevin Nash and the X Division guys, that is carrying this. If it wasn't as entertaining, I would be having a very different opinion. This would be a much lower 2.5 stars out of 5 than it is, if you get my meaning. Borash is backstage with Team 3D. That's brothers Ray, Devon, and Runt. They're going against the James Gang and Abyss tonight. Brother Ray just says violence over and over again. Well, it was either that or war. In the promo, Ray's talking about, we expected you to pick Bullet Bob Armstrong as the third man, but you surprised us with Abyss. He almost came off sounding like he was kind of pissed that the James Gang outsmarted them. But he says, fine, you made a deal with the devil. Good, somebody's still going through a table tonight. And Devon says, with the missing link back in their corner, they're going to prove that they are the best 6-man. So it's anything goes up next as Team 3D take on the James Gang and Abyss James. So right after Slammiversary, they did the Bingo Hall Brawl, this big fight, blood was shed, tables were broken over all this stuff, over the sanctity and the honor of the Bingo Hall and ECW. So what's the very next thing they do to the James Gang and Team 3D? They have a Yo Mama joke battle backstage, and they're just roasting each other. One thing led to another. They fought again. Now the James Gang has recruited Abyss into their war with Team 3D. Must be nice for Abyss, you know, utility player that he is. And for the last 3 months, he was a world title contender. And now he's here. There's like this face-off with Abyss and Brother Runt, which gets a pop from the crowd. And then like a minute later, Ray tags in and we get this face-off with he and Abyss. Doesn't get as big a reaction, to the point where Brother Ray just does this like horse stomp to get the fans to start clapping for them. Like, oh, I'm sorry, are you upset that your face-off didn't get as good a reaction? Abyss looking real strong. He catches Runt and hurls him into the crowd, and then he crowd surfs for a minute, and then the fans just dump him on his head onto the floor. Fucking hell. Now the weapons come into play. They have a beer break in the middle of the match for some reason. Abyss gets worked over in the stage area. Runt with a stomp onto him. Back in the ring, Bully grabs an ECW Fears TNA sign, staples it to Abyss's mask after a couple of attempts. BG grabs a table from under the ring. The fans immediately start chanting for fire. Runt tries to go for the acid drop, but Abyss catches him and drives him through the table. Kinda. He's really got to push him on down to make it break. There you go. 1, 2, 3, the baddies win. I give this one 2 stars out of 5. You know, it was a big brawl. I think it was a good usage of, you know, Brother Runt. Getting a little early preview of he and Abyss at Bound for Glory. Yeah, a bit of a step back, though, in terms of quality from like what we saw with the Bingo Hall Brawl the previous month. Again, I don't, like the fact that Abyss has been shunted into this angle so quickly after what he was involved in. But hey, you gotta have someone fight Brother Runt. JB in the promo zone with America's Most Wanted and Gail Kim. 6-person tag match coming up next. Jeremy says tonight the champions say it's your last shot at winning the belts, but Chris Harris rejects that notion, putting over historically how good of a tag team and how good of champions they've been. And besides, they don't need multiple chances. The one chance is all they need. So Gail Kim, what about Sirelda? Gail's about to speak, but is then cut off by Storm. Come on, damn it. Does this girl get no respect anywhere? He says, AJ and Daniels, your ass whipping's only a drink away. And Chris goes, let's leave the beer in the back. And James goes, why? Why? Because I have 16 stitches in my head. That's why. I love that he countered his why with a why of his own. So the belts are on the line in this 6-person tag team match as AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and their friend Sirelda take on America's Most Wanted and Gail Kim. As we saw last month at Slammiversary, Daniels and Styles had their insurance policy, their own ultimate surprise in Sirelda to counteract Gail Kim. Not much is known about Sirelda. We've heard no promos or interviews with her. We saw a sit-down interview with the champs at one point where they're like, hey, if you want to know more about Sirelda, you should ask Gail Kim. She has been on TV a couple of times to help them retain the belts, which does not make the champs look good at all. Like, way to prove America's Most Wanted right. You know, they won with the help of Gail Kim all the time. What, now you can't win without this large woman? At least she's wearing a sports bra this week. I will say that. Although, one thing I noticed from the TV tapings just before Victory Road to now is that on the last TV taping, she was wearing a big honking knee brace, which is not great news when you're just starting out in professional wrestling. The brace is gone on this show, but you can tell she's kind of hobbling around and favoring one leg. So Gail tags in, she slaps Sirelda in the face, which brings her in, but then James Storm tags in and he has a laugh. Then he tags in Harris, who looks like he could not be bothered with any of this. We get a compromising series of landings from the heels out of the corner at one point, gets a big pop from the crowd. Then AJ gives Gail a spanking. Hey, he's too noble to hit her. The ladies fuck up their one spot when Sirelda can't catch Gail on the first try, but watch Gail work with just about everyone else in this matchup and it's smooth as butter. She even pulls off the death sentence at one point. Sirelda finally hitting the choke slam on Gail. We get some more close calls. Storm brings out that beer bottle and he almost dinks his partner with it again. We get this spot at the end where Harris accidentally hits Storm from the outside with a chair, but it does not look good timing wise. Looks like he has all the time in the world to stop himself from accidentally hitting his own partner. Roll up and the win. The champs retain. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. I hate to keep going in this 2.5 range for so many of the matches on this show, but unfortunately that's just how it feels. Everything just feels really average in terms of in-ring quality on this night. And again, not a great look for the champions who need all these different ways for the heels to slip on banana peels in order for them to continually retain the belt. Like, I like the team of Styles and Daniels. They're great, but them working with Sirelda has not helped them at all. It's made them look worse. Main event time, the road to victory match for the #1 contendership as Sting, Christian Cage, Samoa Joe, and Scott Steiner all throw down, each having their own interesting angles going into this matchup. Christian feeling slighted as the former world champion, feels like he was screwed in the Orlando Screwjob, so he feels that Jarrett being re-gifted the belt and him having to fight for the #1 contendership is beneath him, and again he's doing this in a very heelish way. Scott Steiner talking about Christian Cage, you put that whoop-de-doo in your hair, you're on GQ magazine, but you're still a dumb Canadian. And then the best part of this package is Samoa Joe saying, Scott Steiner, I'm gonna make your children cry. And then we hear like crying baby sound effect underneath.
I'm gonna make your children cry. They're gonna cry because daddy can't hold them anymore.
JB is in the back with Samoa Joe. He says it's his first shot and the only one he'll need. To the other 3 men, heed the warning of the crowd when they chant, Joe is gonna kill you. Sting starts out hot against Joe, puts him in the Scorpion early, but Steiner breaks it up. We get a face-to-face with Christian and Joe. It's too bad neither of them went stomp, stomp, stomp to tell the fans how to react. Sting and Steiner are fighting near the stage. I love hearing Scott sell off camera while Joe and Cage fight for a while.
Scraping the face of Christian is hit with a steel chair. Action in the ring.
Time for the pairs to switch locations. Now Sting and Steiner are in the ring. Suddenly a crew member or a cameraman runs in and sprays gasoline in Sting's face. It's Jeff Jarrett, the master of disguise. The champ runs off as Sting has to get medical attention for being blinded. He is out of the picture.
Dirtiest, rottest shit.
You just couldn't go one show without some Jeff Jarrett fuckery, couldn't you? You know, we were happy with a card free of the King of the Mountain. I was fine with him just being in the opening hype package, interrupting and saying he's going to get revenge. But come on, really? So it turns into a triple threat. Steiner at one point suplexing Christian on the floor. Joe tries to dive onto the two of them outside, but he catches his foot on the rope. Scary stuff. Joe brings out a tabel, but he who sets it gets it, because Steiner does a little arm theatrics. Then it's a damn cactus elbow drop off the apron and through it. That was crazy. Scott and Christian fighting in the corner. Steiner looks to try a super Samoan drop, then he stops, then they just kind of fall in an ugly heap. Ouch. Then suddenly Sting is back. His head is bandaged up, he's got one good eye, he looks ridiculous as hell, but he's back in the fight. He yoinks Christian off of a cover. We get some arguing for a bit before it's broken up. Steiner dumps Cage and Joe out of the ring. Sting hits the death drop on Steiner. The cover and the win. Sting has come back from gas blindness and will now face Jeff Jarrett for the title at Hard Justice. Christian Cage comes in, looks all upset. They're arguing. Then after a little bit, Cage puts his hand out. They shake on it. We get some surprising sportsmanship between the two to close the show out. I gave it 3 stars out of 5. This was the match that to me was the most intriguing going into it, and for my money, it produced the most interesting results. I think Scott Steiner was my MVP of this matchup. He worked his ass off in this one, doing some things I just never would have expected him to do. So kudos to him on that one. Again, it's disappointing, but not unexpected to see Jeff Jarrett get involved, but at least it didn't totally work in his favor this time, you know? We have Sting. He's going to be facing Jarrett next month at Hard Justice. Oh boy, I can't wait. Oh yeah, it's going to finally happen. I can feel it. Sting's finally going to beat him, guys. I can really feel it. My grade for TNA Victory Road 2006 is a C+. It definitely feels like a step backward from Slammiversary the previous month. I felt like the in-ring action here at this show, the quality overall was way down, which is very unfortunate for the Nonstop Action company. For the most part, the stories are still chugging along fine, but you know, when you pride yourself as like the alternative to WWE, and you do that a lot through your in-ring stuff, when that decreases and what you're left with is just like, well, you got the New Age Outlaws and the Dudley Boys talking about ECW. You have Kevin Nash, you know, pretending to be, you know, the big star of yore, hanging around all the vanilla midgets and whatnot. You've got all this stuff that does not feel like an alternative to the WWE, and there's trying to be like them in this case. And this is a show where it feels like they went too far in one direction, and it makes the show kind of suffer as a result. But what did you think of Victory Road, and how about this review? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, quick reminder for y'all, since I covered Hard Justice 2006 last year, that means that there will be no TNA pay-per-views next month. We'll take a break from 06 and we'll go back to the timeline in September with a look at No Surrender. But in the meantime, next month you will see me dip my toe into the classic waters of a company I've never looked at for classic pay-per-view reviews because the sample size honestly is pretty small. I'm going to be looking at the first, the last, and the only pay-per-view event held by Herb Abrams and the Universal Wrestling Federation. I'm going to look at Beach Brawl. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.